Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome. Welcome to another episode of The Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. And it brings me great pleasure to bring two wonderful individuals to our front and platform. I'd like to introduce Katherine Macbean, who is the co-founder of the People's Health Alliance and the People's Food and Farming Alliance. After many years working with a plethora of industries in roles ranging from project manager, business and product development, and strategic planning, Katherine has been able to engage her varied skill set to bring the solutions to the world that lead us from the old models into something new. Welcome, Katherine.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Excited to have you, very, very excited. And then it brings me great pleasure to introduce to you Paul Clere. Paul is a personal liberator, intuitive life coach, spiritual mentor, providing one-on-one coaching and facilitating various transformational workshops for groups. He is a holistic community builder, and for the last 18 months, Paul has been assisting community action groups, People's Health Alliance, health hubs, and community assembly members worldwide to get set up and co-create holistic society and the heart-based economy with his friend and colleagues. And Paul also is a New Earth enterprise builder. He has 30 plus years professional background in strategic business change consulting, leadership coaching and mentoring, leading project teams and business professional improvements with his skills in training, design and delivery, workshop facilitation, organization development, and culture change and innovation. I welcome to our platform, Paul Clere.
Thanks, Anolia. Thank you. It's lovely to be here. Thanks for having me on as well. It's nice to share some space with the three of us. It's great.
It absolutely is. And, you know, I thought about that opening concept. What is that big opening statement that we're going to use? And I really want to just step back and ask maybe Katherine or yourself, Paul, define 5D. Define 5D community, define 5D enterprise. Define that for us, because we keep hearing about this new earth, this new enterprise, this new community, a leap of orbit, the next octave up. What does that mean? And define it for our audience.
Yeah, I think that's a really great question, Anolia, and a lot of people out there are kind of puzzled by some of these 2-letter or 3-letter acronyms. So that for me, it's always in the higher dimensions, things get simpler, not harder. Okay, or more complicated. So for me, 5D represents the next level of shift in our conscious awareness, really, and the recognition of who we are. And that's a bit more of the interconnected us rather than the separated us. And it means that we're stepping into just a bit more of love, harmony in our relationships, and finding the things that we love to do, our passions, and finding people that connect with those to create high vibe tribes. That's kind of the idea. And it's leaving behind, maybe some people might recognize it for what it isn't more than what it is leaving behind some of the things like the ego trips, the power plays, the getting one over on another, the competition, the scarcity, the lack, and those things that keep us separated from each other and separated from nature and the world around us. So we're really moving into a higher version of ourselves where we're seeking to perhaps operate with more flow and grace and ease and connection with nature and the people around us that's meaningful, that's more purpose-driven and more abundant, rather than perhaps being square pegs in round holes or doing work that we don't want to do, but we need to earn money to get by. So those are some of the qualities. I don't know, you got anything, Katherine, to do that? I said that was
I think you just
simple, but
I think you covered that beautifully. For me, it really is from going from old models that serve individuals without looking at our communities as a whole, and realigning our focus to not just focus on what we need as individuals, but very much what we can do to support and serve the communities around us, with equilibrium, with kindness, and with a shift away from things like profit, ego, personal achievement. Outside of that, what is there, what's more important? And it's allowing us to understand that we don't have to remain in the models of old. And what's happening here is the birthing of something very, very new and very, very exciting and very, very dynamic, that will impact everyone's lives positively. For me, that's how I perceive it to be.
Beautiful. And will you, Katherine, share with us, what is your vision for this 5D model? Lay it out for us so that we have something to grasp onto and to really taste it in our palate the way you visualize it.
So for me personally, I sort of understood some years ago that in order to move away from the models of old, we have to almost do the opposite. So for me, everything that we've built, be it the People's Health Alliance, People Food and Farming Alliance, the other things that are going on out there that are similar, is a model that decentralizes. It takes the power from the hands of those who believe they have it into more the individual and their community. So all of these models decentralize, and what we have to look at is we're moving into a space, as we've said, where things are going to have a different priority. What we do, how we serve our communities, how that works will become a greater priority in our lives, I think, based on what we've learned. We've become very, very reliant on the nanny state. The government will sort it out. Everything will be done for us. We don't have to worry. Just go around, work your socks off in jobs you don't like, pay your bills, come home, do the monotony, sit in front of a screen, and lo and behold, you're back into it tomorrow. So what we're learning as we become aware of things, as we all go through this awakening kind of process, is that actually a lot of people are finding it very, very difficult now, as their integrity shifted, as they become more aware of their own ego and how they want to reconcile their position, that actually the jobs that they work in don't necessarily serve them. The companies they work for are entirely profit driven. There isn't anything outside of that that's important to them. And it's us recognizing where this is going, where this is going to be in a few years' time, where this could be in 6 months' time, in terms of the shift for humanity, the shift in our focus, the shift in our priorities and our integrity. And so for me, 5D Enterprise is about supporting new and established businesses to go from that profit-driven model, that one that is just so cliched and obvious to us now as being one that doesn't serve humanity overall, to one that does, one that is no longer just purely focused on the profit-driven model. It's very much focused on what can we do to integrate with our community, to serve our community, to support the workers that come to us. How can we fulfill them and work with them? Because we all know what it's like. If you're in a job you don't like, the chances are you're not being 100% productive. You're not fulfilling your own desires, your own needs and wishes and creative energy and satisfaction, fulfillment, all of those things. There's so many people out there who are in roles that they're literally there to pay the bills. They don't really care in a passionate way about their jobs. And what we want to do is create business models and structure, for want of a better word, that leans more into the 5D, i.e., this business is here, we want to make a profit. Heck yeah, we all need to make a profit. But actually, how do our employees feel? Are they being fulfilled in their jobs? Can we increase their productivity by working with them to adjust or amend their roles to suit their needs more? Is there something we can be doing more so to help the communities around us, the other businesses out there? So less competition, more collaboration. And what can we do above and beyond what we're doing to ensure that our communities are supported far better than they're being now from a more holistic mindset? So I'm excited because I see so many people who go to work and they hate what they do, and they go just to, pay the bills. They've got kids to feed. We get it. We totally get it. But actually, humanity's going to go through a consciousness shift, whether you want it or not. It's happening. It's already well and truly underway, and it's marvelous. And sometimes it feels quite rocky, but it's marvelous, and we're moving in that direction. And for businesses that think they can carry on in the models they currently adopt, as that human consciousness shifts, and make no changes to their models, to their approach, to their messaging, and to how they work with their staff and their community, if they don't shift that, they will be left behind. And we don't want to leave anyone behind. You know, we want to grab people up and help them find a way to start moving in that direction. And I think we're going to end up with so many, all businesses will become much more involved with their local community. They become part of the fabric of the local community. Those relationships will be formed, and thus their employees hopefully will listen to, they'll become more satisfied. And also as well, it's a case of, we want to support people come forward who have new business ideas, new ventures, new things that will help support their community, give them a good standard of living, but help support their community moving forward. And so we want to help people adjust and adapt and come up with ideas that helps them transform and liberates them from the current model into something much more beautiful.
Wow. Excellent, excellent. And Paul, any contributions to that?
Yeah, I mean, again, Katherine and I are very much on the same page. I've got a slide that might help if I could share. Would that be okay for a moment?
Sure,
Just to
absolutely.
share a
Go
slide,
ahead.
and then I can talk to that. It's picking up a lot of what Katherine's already said. You just there we go. This big picture, as I think, as Katherine's outlined already, is that there's at least two and more journeys going on a broad level of sort of some kind of worldwide liberation journey. And one of those journeys is a very individual one, and it's different for each of us. We're at different parts of this evolutionary or awakening process in a way, but it's an inside out process that comes to us in different ways through different events, circumstances, or internal aha moments. You know, when you're in the shower, in the bath, or walking in nature, wherever those aha moments happen for you. So this top line is really talking to the individual liberation journey, which is reclaiming some of what we believe your true power and authority is. So again, not having the spoon feeding and dependency on the state for various things, but also liberating another level of your awareness, another level of your consciousness, and another level of who you really are inside and who you're becoming. And there's lots of things happening in the outside world that are prompting, prodding, and sometimes pushing people into these new levels of awareness. And we've seen that particularly over the last 3 years, although many people have been working on this process for decades. The second and the middle line is the holistic community building that we're seeing happening. And this is why it's so amazing that Katherine is here and can share about the PHA and the People's Health Alliance, the People's Food and Farming Alliance. There's community groups growing, literally springing up. I was going to say growing everywhere. That was a bit of a pun for the PFFA, I think. So there's groups happening on all kinds of interests all over the world. And they're starting to come together in their high vibe tribes, looking to do things with a new sense of purpose and passion. And this almost their joyful contributions are co-creating the new earth. That's it. That's their energy, is co-creating and building the new earth when they come together. And it's about harmonious and positive living environments and cultures and values. So maybe it's a return to some of the old community values that many people, or the parents or the grandparents might remember, you know, in the 50s, the 60s, where people didn't have much after the, you know, the sort of the impact of World War II, but they had each other and they knew what that was worth. And I think a lot of our communities have been pushed into little isolated or separated groups, almost as if by design, and not quite that way, but we've become very kind of isolated in a way, especially technology coming in as well, that keeps us on a computer all day long, you know, guilty. But when do we go and actually meet other people? So there's a community journey involved in this as well, to find the people that you're really aligned with and passionate about the same things, and start building new stuff. And then this third sort of line at the bottom is really the business aspects, where what we see largely at the moment is still a working culture of competition and scarcity, and perhaps, you know, market share and making money being the prime focus. And, you know, that money gets divvied up to the shareholders, who are the most important people in the business, for funding it, instead of turning that upside down and saying the most important people in the organization, the people that are actually providing services to the clients and to the customers. So we're seeing a lot of blind spots and missing information that isn't getting into the business narrative space or even the strategic planning processes. And almost the blind spots are anything to do with the above parts of this picture. There's not really a comprehension of the holistic community building that's going on at the scale it's happening. And there's not really a comprehension of the changes of people's awareness and consciousness that is going to potentially take the business world by surprise when people have a choice whether they want to go to work or not, and it's not just about the money. Then how many people would rock up to work on a Monday morning? And, you know, that question for HR directors, HR managers, or managing directors, CEOs, that's a very important question. And I don't see many companies shifting their focus to create a positive, lasting legacy for mankind as part of their mission statement. You know, some are, and some already have and led the way, but there's missing pieces there on a lot of sectors and industries. So I think the 5D, what is 5D, is kind of like what's at the end of the rainbow for all those three journeys. That's the short answer with a picture to help, is there's something at the end of this. What happens when you've reclaimed your true power and authority as a man or a woman, boy or a girl? What happens when you've created within you this new level of conscious awareness? You see things differently. You're looking at connections differently. Everything in the world looks different because it's as if you're looking at things through a new pair of eyes. And for the community building side as well, when you get in together with people who are really having fun and love what they're doing, that ain't work anymore, is it? That's just fun, having fun together. So the idea of slogging away at work is dissolving into the idea of how do we have fun creating some cool stuff that people need and want, or helps the world in some way. So, and then the business, of course, is a way of enabling that to happen by creating particular products and services that are going to light people up and create a positive difference. There you go. There's my long answer.
So I want to go to a place where I want to define what's broken. I mean, I really want to define what's broken. And I agree with you in terms of when we look at businesses, okay, we have corporations, and then somewhere along the line, and I remember actually seeing it when the corporations were allowed to monopolize. So that there was the one paradigm shift. They were allowed to monopolize. So then they started taking over everything. The second fundamental piece that took place that broke the system was that corporations were then looked at as like an individual. They had the rights of an individual. And that really screwed everything up, okay? That just basically was just like, what the heck is going on? Why does this company have a right like me as an individual? And so, you know, I'm always reading up on the latest and greatest in things. And, you know, I stumbled across Peter Drucker. And he basically is trying to pull together the next level management. And I don't know if this is the next level management or not. And I would love your thoughts about it. However, what he said is that we are commoditizing everything, and that between the corporations having the fundamental rights as an individual, their main focus on our products and services, and these products and services, almost like the product has a right and the service has a right. And that the next level management isn't based on products and services and delivering products and services, but it's really based on knowledge management. And then the fact that knowledge management and the focus on knowledge and the focus on managing that knowledge is where we need to be as a next level management. How is that bringing us to a next level management 5D of where possibly your vision is, and is he on target, and is that the right direction to go, or is he missing is he missing the point, because he's training hundreds and hundreds and millions of people to think this way, saying this is the next level 5D way of looking at corporations and how businesses need to change in order to grasp the changes that are taking place for the paradigm shift of the next level 5D holistic way of thinking. And that we have to focus on the people and the knowledge that they hold and the knowledge management that comes on board versus the products and commodities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, that's a great.
I'll pass to you first.
Yeah. I mean, I've Peter Drucker has been going such a while. I mean, when I was 20 years ago, or the Peter Drucker's, I can't remember the name of the book now, but that was being passed around as one of the the leading edge texts. I totally agree with you in terms of what you started in terms of monopolies, money first being the driver, which really changed things. The people factors became secondary to profitability. That was where things started to really go quite seriously wrong. And then corporations acting as if they're having the rights of individual beings. I couldn't agree more. This is the taking over of the, if you like, the maritime laws and commercial law. That's almost the lowest level when you look at what we're supposed to have as our own innate power and divine power and natural law and even common law. So those things flipped around. But ultimately, I think you're describing the difference, or I would say, between the head and the heart leading the show. What knowledge management suggests is a head-based process that is all about what you know or what you learn, or the intellectual value of things and thinking things through. And of course, on the wider picture, the bigger scale, that doesn't really exist in the business school thinking or some of the main management consultancies, is that there's a rise of the divine feminine energy going on here that's pretty sort of unstoppable. And when you know what you kind of unmissable if you know what you're looking for. But it seems like there's still a lot of the blinkers. I see this on my LinkedIn feed. I've been in LinkedIn for many years, and I've got contacts in the business world, and it's the same stuff seems to be coming up again and again, just rehashed from things I was talking about and putting in place 25 years ago. So there's a limitation of where the mind can take you. But when you actually shift to love being the driving force instead of knowledge, then you start to create a whole lot of connections that it's almost a bit like the male and the female models of creation. The male's very direction and focus, and what do we need to know? Let's go that way. And we're directing, it's built in our physiology. We've got pointy bits, you know what I mean? And then the female side of things is about the connection, taking people with you, the intuition, the just knowing that. And it's not about knowledge. There's a difference between knowledge and knowing. It's about just knowing, intuiting, insightfulness. These are the qualities I believe that leaders will have in the future. And to bring people together, cooperating, to create cohesion, and to have a conscience about what they're doing. We're not talking about here in any way the World Economic Forum agenda or model of leadership. That is not what we're talking about. In fact, some of the quotes I'm hearing from them, like, humanity will be reduced to hackable animals with no soul or consciousness. That is the opposite end of the scale to what we're talking about here. So we're saying, well, okay, what's the opposite of that? We're brought alive, we're passionate, we're expansive beings in touch with our hearts and souls, and that's what guides us. And this is the organizing part that can go find the knowledge. You can find knowledge on the internet. We can have technology to assist us with knowledge. So it's about, where are your plans originating from in your heart, in your gut? What does your ancient wisdom say about all these things that you want to do, or how you want to do? How does it feel? Again, in the old culture, a lot of the models are, don't let your heart rule your head, stick to the facts and data. We've got all that stuff. coming in to actually diminish the divine feminine, or those energies of connection, intuition, and self-empowerment on that level, to try and negate it. So we walk around like robots, cut off from the head down. We may as well not have anything else. We just think everything. That's good. That's the outgoing model. And so that's what I feel is a little bit missing in Peter Drucker, what you described as Peter Drucker's work. I'm sure there's lots of great ideas that will inspire people, but as you know, the difference between motivation and inspiration is an inside out job. Inspiration for me tends to come from within. Motivation comes from outside. So that might be quite motivating, but for me, it's not inspirational.
I love it. I love it. Katherine.
Well, I mean, I woke up many, many years ago, and it was the attempted and thus then successful monopolization of the food production industry by the supermarkets in the UK. I was watching it happen and increasingly becoming concerned, and that's what triggered me to go on my journey. I think it was Ronald Reagan who gave companies pretty much human rights back in the day, and as a result of that, we've seen how their rights come actually above the regular humans, and as a result, it's diminished the importance of the people and the role that we play and what we can offer and where we sit with it, what our responsibilities are. And it's all part of the bigger picture, and it's all been done very, very cleverly and very, very gently over a number of years. But what they've done is they've removed the human input that is so incredibly important, and just focus on the bottom line, what that looks like, which we all know focuses around money. So for me, it was the centralization of the power structures as well, because as monopolization takes place, then obviously you're left come the end of it, if there's an end, but you're left come the end of it with these big monolith type of businesses that ultimately control everything else. And the further you go down that road, the further you take the people out of it again. More and more is that disparate distance that was so important before, when people had a say, or they could be involved at a greater level. What we want to see happen is absolutely the direct opposite of that. It is the decentralization. It's bringing the people back in. It's not making profit the one and only thing that should be considered. And whilst governments currently worldwide, they're not going to hand us over this power, this freedom, this right to step into who we are and create our income surrounding that. We have to take it. We have to take it, and we can do that in a very peaceably, smooth, calm manner. And what we're seeing now organically happen due to situations in the last 4 years is that people are becoming far more aware of this, and they're becoming more empowered. It's incredibly exciting, actually, because I've been watching it really closely for a long time. I've never been more excited in my life about what I'm seeing happen. I read things on social media, people going, right, I'm thinking of starting up my own initiative. I can't stay in my job anymore. I want to do this. And you look at the model, and there's an element of that in there that is helping humanity, whether that be on a local, regional level, whatever that may look like. And people who are starting new businesses now, who are aware of the bigger picture stuff, are very, very much focused on their sort of ethical, moral position in what they're trying to achieve. And I don't think even 4 years ago, people would have necessarily done that. They're looking at, how do I become an innovator? How do I earn money? How do I get it all over social media? How do I do my digital marketing? And whilst those things, there's obviously still an element of importance around that. We're not being silly about it. They're starting to now shift their focus. They're starting to shift their priorities. And what we want to do is ensure that any businesses out there who suddenly go, oh, hang on a minute, everything's changing. What do I do? What do I do? They're not alone. We're going to be there. We're going to help them work through that, find ways to maneuver and change their models so that they can move into the 5D with their current business, but it looks a little bit different. Their employees will hopefully be so much more satisfied, so much more fulfilled as a result of any shifts and changes that they can make with our support. And also the community. So it's not just the employees, it's not just the consumers and customers, but the community as well. And it's an incredibly exciting time, because I've never seen numbers like it, Anolia, and I really want to see a whole lot more come. And they will, because I don't think there's any going back from here. There's not. There's far too many of us that have gone on this journey. Our consciousness is rising. We're coming together. We're connecting at a different level than we have done in donkey's years. And the bad guys don't stand a chance up against that. And we all know, we don't even have to talk about it in detail. We all know that that highest vibration, that highest, if you like, frequency, for want of a better word, is love. So people are starting to understand that, and they understand actually that they can ripple that out of themselves energetically. If they go into things with love, others will feel it, others will be attracted to it, others will be drawn to it, because it is so high and it is so positive and it is so warm. And if you can create an environment for that is led by that level of vibration and frequency, if you can create a working environment for that, can you imagine what those employees will feel, and how excited they'll be, and how much more they'll give, and how fulfilled they'll be, you know? And as a result, that business will no doubt do incredibly well moving forward. So we can take the models of old, where it went horribly wrong by this centralization, this monopolization, this focus purely on the bottom line, the money situation, and we can almost invert it and do the absolute opposite, which is where we are going as a species. I think it is where we're going as humanity, into this place which is more focused on love, more focused on others, more focused on cohesion and coordination and collaboration. And those models of old will dissipate. So, I mean, it's up to businesses out there. We're not here to tell people what to do, but we're here should people need support. And I can honestly say, hand on heart, having monitored this for 25 years, if businesses out there don't start looking at this and adopting some changes, start moving this direction, I think very soon they'll be left behind, which would be a real shame. And we'd love to help people through that journey.
So I think you're going to be helping them through that journey and a lot others, because there are other people who are like hammering a nail into the paradigm and cracking it at its very core. So I'm going to share just a little story of what I just learned. And actually it happened in your town, Katherine. So there's an actor, an American actor called Terrence Howard, and he basically just addressed Oxford University. And what he addressed them with is that he basically said that the fundamental basic math that we were using is wrong, right? That 1 times 1 is not equal to 1, that 1 times 1 is equal to 2, okay? And people would be like, okay, what's the big deal about that? 1 times 1 equals 2. Okay, so, you know, you're challenging the whole academic scenario. But if you really step back and think about the implication of what he's saying, he not only challenged that, he challenged Euclidean geometry, he challenged how we're looking at the flower of life, and you know, that's one of the oldest symbols in the world that we're looking at in a 2D model, and you need to look at it in a 3D model, and introduce something called the Turian wave theory. Okay, but that's beside the point. And I'm a math major, so I get excited about this kind of stuff. But the reason that he talked about that is that he said, think about it in terms of your money. If you're saying 1 times 1 equals 1, so then the bank is justified for basically saying, oh, penny times a penny is a 0.001 penny, or a penny. I don't owe you 2, right? And if you think about that, right, even from that basic level and multiply that across the board, right? Our whole financial system and how we think about this is wrong. So when he challenged those students in Oxford University to take a look at this and see how we're wrong, and that like when you're using basic math and you're using that 1 times 1 equals 1, that's wrong. So when you're using it other places within the mathematical theorems and calculations that you're doing, if we were an intergalactic or interstellar people, we'd be off. We couldn't do the travels because our basic math is wrong. And so he just challenged across the board everything. And to me, that was a hammer right in the middle of the paradigm to break it. How are businesses going to react? How are the banks going to react? You know, how are people appalled? What does it take to wake us up to say that, okay, here we go again. We have somebody who's there, he's tapped in. I mean, if you saw this interview, you know that the Einsteins of the world roll around once every 100 or so years. And they picked a young man who's an actor out of the streets of Ohio to bring forward some information that changes the course course of humanity. Because I read the books, I did the homework, and I'm thinking, holy crap, do people realize what just took place? And I look at this and I go, okay, we need to move into a 5D model. What does it take to get people to wake up? Do we need another hammer and a crack in the paradigm? And what does that look like? You know, what are your thoughts?
Well,
And I know I
I'm
said
no, it's fine. I haven't come across that, so I'd be interested in looking at that more. I'm just now thinking, oh wow, okay, that's a lot. I need to go away and absorb that and process that. But in terms of this kind of paradigm shift and people waking up, I personally think it's happening organically. Again, I look at where we were 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, so on and so forth. I do believe we've just gone through a second, third large awakening. And I think that's going to continue. And in all honesty, I predict that by the end of the year, the majority are going to have their heads wrapped around at least the basic level of this. Now, I've seen what's happened happen organically. I might have had to, kind of bring the models to the fore and talk about them and get them in front of people and help motivate them to realize their own power and what they can achieve coming together at community level as well as individually. And it's just happened. In 2 years, for example, with PHA, we've got 70 health hub groups across the UK. We're in, I think, 23 countries now that are trying to open hubs. I think several of them already have. And that's in under 2 years on no budget. And what that means is the force of energy, the power is coming from the people. Now, if we'd have gone back 5 years' time, well, in fact, I did do something similar to this. I tried to launch something back in about 2014 called Community Compassion, very much similar ethos and trying to do the same thing, but it was the wrong time. There weren't enough people aware of the bigger picture. There weren't enough people to care. Quite often people, until affected on an individual level, won't react or respond because it's just the way we've been led to be. We've become very insular. We've become very focused on the self and not so much on looking outside of that. What we're seeing happen now is phenomenal. I mean, there's no other word to describe it. It is so exciting. And people are waking up at a rate of knots. This will continue. And it will, if anything, it will speed up. And as a result of that, people are going to stop. And once they process, they've gone through what I call the grieving process, because I think part of the awakening does feel that like that for a lot of people. Once they've come through that, what we then need to have is things like these hub groups ready to catch them so they don't fall, to kind of hold their hand through the initial part. But then once they're recovering, they're going to start thinking, okay, what can I do? How can I change my life? What can I give back to my community? And we're seeing this happen now, but I personally see it just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think all of this will happen naturally. But I also believe that it's important that as people awaken and they see the old crumbling, that they understand there are foundations of new things there. So there's no panic, there's no fluster, there's no, oh my God, it's all gone, what next? It's a case of, hang on a minute, we've got some roadmaps in place, we've got some foundations in place, we can all come together to build on those, and it will happen. But by putting these things in place like PHA, PFFA, the 5D enterprise, what we're doing is just showing those foundations and a starting point for people to move off from, because they don't quite know where to go from here. It's like, well, okay, I've got this energy, I've woken up, I realized things are crap the way they were. How do I make a difference? And so these groups, these organizations, these enterprises and initiatives that are popping up everywhere, these will be what help guide people forward. And then they'll reach a point, they'll think, right, I've got it, I'm on my own, and they'll fly, and they'll absolutely fly with it. And we're just here to help them understand what they need to do with their business and how to go to that next level, and then there for future support should they need it.
Yes. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, some great questions here, Nalia. Sort of really great to explore this territory with you. I got when you were talking that, I mean, we're in there's a human evolution process taking place. It's prompted by lots of things, but one of those things is a shift in the quality of light, the photonic light that's coming into the planet, the position of our planet in relation to the whole sort of central sun or the photon band. I mean, I could go into a whole lot of that background, but basically we're being assisted and drawn into a much higher frequency of light that is then burning away the stuff that we don't need anymore in our lives and actually shining lights where things have remained hidden up to this point. So the more these revelations happen, the more that we actually can see things for what they really are, or for who they really are, or the truth that has been kind of hidden from us. So that's happening anyway. And it's kind of like that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I'd change that and say, when the student is ready, is like we're in Earth School and we're all going through this kind of little fun journey of how serious we take life. But we're going through this evolutionary path. And when the student's ready, the ways and means appear. You know, we get the synchronicities, we get, when we've cleared out our old energy, when we've done some work on ourselves and let go of some of the things that have been holding us back, some of the luggage we've been carrying around for donkey's years, all of that, we actually lighten up, and then we're able to actually see some of the pathways open up ahead of us. But if we're struggling with our luggage, we've probably got our eyes down, huffing and puffing, and we can't actually see these doorways ahead of us. So being able to drop some of that off is really clear. And like Catherine's saying, I've had the absolute privilege for the last 12, 18 months to have a fortnightly call with hub builders all around the world, doing sort of free coaching and mentoring with them about what their issues are with PHA, their hub building. Is it a funding issue? Is it a location issue? Is it a, you know, are the people here aren't doing anything, they're expecting me to do all the work? All these normal sort of issues. And they come up, and people all around the world are having very similar issues, trying to do the same things. And then you get a natural process of helping each other out on these calls, where somebody from New Zealand will be helping out somebody in Portugal because they went through that 3 months ago and they did this, and this to support, you know, to get through it. And the person in Portugal, right, oh gosh, or I can get you in touch with somebody who knows it, and then they're swapping. So when we come together, not only in these ways do we find out the amazing stuff that's going on that is not covered in the newspapers, it isn't covered even in the holistic media, you know, we don't get to hear about it unless, like Katherine and myself, we've been in the privileged position to be able to see all this amazing sparks happening on their own, just because you've given people an idea, or the idea is connected with something inside of them that they go, wow, that's me. I've suddenly realized that is who I'm becoming. Oh my God, I've got to get in there. I'm going to do it. Who else is with me? And people, yeah, I've got it too. And then they get together, and then, wow, the magic happens. This is a really part of 5D world. The magic happens. We create our own magic. And I kind of talk about, I'm getting a bit wound up now, aren't I? I talk about people being there, being like that, the genie in the lamp. And we've been conditioned to believe that we've got to hang out in the lamp until somebody else comes and rubs the lamp and we can come out and then serve them with 3 wishes. And then we go back in the lamp. Well, the thing is, we're the genie and the lamp is being dissolved and removed. And we're going to be let out of our lamp. So the real question is, if we're incredible, powerful beings, which have no limits whatsoever to what we can create, how do we do that wisely and responsibly without blowing ourselves up or blowing up the whole world with us? And these are the steps and stages of being ready to accept, receive, and then work with and use that level of creative power. And that when we talk about reclaiming our power and authority within, that's the level of power I believe we've got within us. So, you know, it's the sky's the limit. And in terms of our construct and what we're surrounded by, when we start on that process or continue, and many of us have started without knowing, and some of us are consciously aware of a lot more things now, we start to realize that maybe 80% or more of the things we thought were real and true around us actually are false. It's actually, our construct is so limited to keep us in this tiny little space inside our lamp. And what we're really seeing with Katherine, myself, and others is this explosion of people's awareness and their willingness, ready willingness and ability to create something new. And that's what's so exciting about this whole subject for me.
And I love the fact that as the eclipse just took place a couple of weeks ago, and for those people who are empaths, for those people who are already aware, you really know that the rhythm of the earth has really fundamentally changed. It has changed, and we are adjusting to it. So I really want to drive home what you said, in the respect that whether you like it or not, you are in the energy. The energy has shifted, the energy has changed. And so if things are blowing up in your life and things aren't aligning, you need to step back and look at, oh, well, how have I been operating all this time such that everything is blowing up? And I love what you said, because like I totally subscribe in the respect of understanding that we need to navigate and flow through life. And when we're not in flow, then we need to step back and evaluate what the heck is going on. I love the fact that PHA is helping these individuals. And Katherine, I'm going to go to you. I didn't do service by asking you, please explain PHA to our studio audience so that they understand what you're talking about and how powerful it is to be a part of an organization that basically cares, that basically assists, and that recognizes we are stronger together, and that leverages that strength in sharing knowledge instead of possessing knowledge, and encouraging and sharing and saying that we can more or less sit in circle instead of upstaging one another. So will you share a little bit?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you. So again, going back to when I was awake and nobody else, or felt like nobody else was, I was trying to figure out what the solutions, and again, decentralization. So for me, health, I think we've missed a trick for many, many years, particularly in more Western nations, when we purely focused in on the allopathic approach, the medical approach. For me, I thought we were missing a trick, not inviting the holistic community, the natural health community, to come forward and have a bigger voice, come out of the shadows where they've been forced by government bodies and so forth, and bring them back into the light. And so understanding that this had to be done in a decentralized manner, for me, it was supporting communities, people coming together, whether you're a practitioner or you're not, to create health hubs at a community level, which focus, if you like, on the primary, secondary care issues, but very much holistically. Hey, have you looked at your nutrition? Are you out of balance? Are you getting enough? You know, really going back to basics in terms of how we approach our health. And it's had a massive impact on people, particularly after 2020 and what was happening there, and people understanding actually sometimes the medical industry isn't the road to go down, and we need to actually take personal responsibility for our health. Stop waiting for the NHS or the other health services to do it for us. Let's take a preventative approach. But how can we do that? Who can we lean into support us? So there are plethoras of modalities out there, and incredible practitioners from all natural health environments who can help and support through that. So what we've got now is sort of about 70 hub groups, health hub groups across the UK, opening up health hubs in their area, with a number of different practitioners involved on holding workshops, educational meetings, one-to-ones. We might try and it's set up so that those that are in a poverty or low income situation are still able to access these practitioners. But what we've done, if you like, at PHA Core, is throw the power up to the people. It's not for us to dictate what that looks like. Yes, we've got a handful of principles we like people to work with that are really important to us, but it's over to the community to decide what they need. And this was the original, and still is, the ethos. So people understand, hey, I can do this. I can set this up for my community. I can step into my power. There's nothing to stop me doing that at all. And it's drawn like-minded people together. So they're coming from approach, again, one for what is best for our community, not what's best for me as an individual. What do I need? What do I want to get out of this? It's kind of, yes, we'd have to address the I, and we have to address our own concerns, but very much focus on the community as a whole. And because of this ethos and this approach, it was taken up like wildfire. And like I say, we're in a number of different countries now where people's health systems are not truly supporting them, and they're looking for something different. But rather than sitting back and relying on central government or even local government to make that happen, people are doing it for themselves. I then set up the People's Food and Farming Alliance, very similar principles about decentralizing what's a very controlled, centralized food production system in the UK. And I know a lot of other countries are in the same situation. And I know a lot of the food that is produced for us is not healthy. And we have to raise awareness of what true healthy food looks like. We need to increase the numbers of farmers and producers that work independently, certainly at a localized level, as well as the processors, but very much bring the consumers, bring the people into this conversation. Allow them to help set up routes to market for farmers, allow them to set up growing groups at community level or community farms, allow them and support them in doing localized processing that's very much cleaner, much nicer, like your cheese or your butter or whatever else isn't done in a massive factory without the personal touch as well. We all know that things can feel love, things can feel our energy, and that very much it comes down to food as well. For those that consume meat, I can tell you right now, I can tell the difference between an animal who's had a very peaceful life, life has ended very peacefully and with respect, compared to one that hasn't. And that is the health that we consume. So it works very nicely with PHA, but again, it's throwing it back to the people for them to come together, decide what they can do with their community, taking ownership of that, taking responsibility for it, and creating an environment where their food is far more locally produced and does nothing but benefit them from a health perspective, but also an economic one as well. So those are the two initiatives I've initially set up. They're rocking along. We're now just about to throw PFFAs already in about 2 or 3 countries, and we only kick that in January, and we've got some meetings coming up with other countries because I think they love the modeling, they love the ethos behind it, they love the fact that the people are empowered. You get to do this, you get to create what you need for you and your community. And for me, the next level, we've got health, we've got food and farming. The next level for me is business and enterprise, because we still need that. We still need that capacity at the moment. And certainly there are going to be others that need to support coming through and making those changes, which is why Paul and I being on the same page, we're more than happy to do this together. We're both very excited because that's the next level where people require empowerment, support, guidance to create their strong foundations for moving into what comes next.
Beautiful, beautiful. Paul.
Yeah, if I could, I just want to jump in on a couple of things there as well, because this is definitely an opportunity to integrate business and community. In fact, we're looking at one of the terms that we want to use is like a community-focused enterprise. This is where enterprises and businesses become a lot more locally focused on how they can integrate, support, assist, and work with their local community groups, instead of being a kind of a walled kingdom or queendom, and then the community is just where they take their resources from and throw them out when it's the end of the workday. Because the people that work in these businesses live in the local communities. So we're seeing a deliberate blurring of those boundaries so that communities and businesses can interact and provide mutual benefits for in many different ways. So that's really the idea of the local focus thing from both sides of the equation, the community and the business coming together. And the second thing that was coming up when Katherine was talking, and going back to what we said about what's the leadership of the future like, is in simple terms, leaders of the future are going to be the men and women and beings that facilitate and guide and enable others to create their dreams and their most heartfelt desires. And that involves connection with other people more than direction, because the direction will come from the passion. So you can see the male and female models here. So this is about a connection, and it's joining the dots that unite everybody. That's really what unity consciousness is about in simple terms, joining the dots. And that's contrasted to the management sort of models where you teach somebody something and it's skills acquisition. Whereas over in the 5D world, you're remembering wisdom you've got within you, or you're chipping away the things that are stopping you. You're not being a guru. You're not informing and telling people what they need to do. So the idea of directors directing people is not quite the same in this new model that we're working to. This is about enabling people to direct themselves, enabling people to empower themselves through working with others and learning how to work together, sure. But, you know, there's not the ego that keeps everybody separate, or us and them, or higher and lower. We're all on the same level. There's no implied superiority by role or title. This is about,
I'd love to see the eradication of words like manager and supervisor and things like that. I love facilitator so much more. I'll say coach, just in terms of, you know, again, a coach is there to help and to guide and to allow you to grow. You know, I think, I mean, for me, language matters. It's a big thing. And I think that terminology will be phased out in favor of something that implies something of positive guidance of, you're in control. I'm just here to support you going on your journey. You know, far more that approach than the kind of dictatorial, you will do this approach that we've become so used to.
And a lot of people are rebelling against that as well. They don't like it anymore. And if you look at the young people and talk to young people, they don't want that. They don't like teachers like that at school. They don't like friends of the family that are too overbearing. They don't like this whole do as I say, not as I do. And they certainly don't want to repeat their parents' pathways of working like dogs at all hours God sends, having no time to spend with family, with them as children, in order to make money, to pay the bills, to have the nice car, the flash house, and the, you know, that they're the 2.1 kids and the dog. You know, this whole model of what success looks like in the 5D world is actually very different from the material versions of that we've been brought up to believe is, oh, they're successful because. And some of the happiest people in the world are people that don't have a great deal of money. So we know that it's not all about money, although money bloody well helps. Of course it does. But, you know, can't live without money. But it's not the be all and end all. And that, I think, is one of the big things that will change everything.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about what you wanted for your kids 10 years ago, and I think about what I want, you know, when I pray for my children every night, I ask for them to be healthy and content. Simple as that. Not lots of money, lots of this, that, and the other. None of that. I want my children to be healthy and content. And I think people's priorities are shifting, and it's beautiful to watch it happen. But we've just got to be able to take that and put it into practical forms that support our society, support our communities, and support our families. And that's what we want to help do.
Yeah. So I know that we're over an hour actually, but I this is such a powerful conversation. What do you want to leave with our audience with? What is on your heart that you want to just share to as we conclude our conversation? Yeah. Please go ahead.
One thing for me is people often don't realize just how incredible they are. They don't understand how capable they are, how wonderful they are, what they can achieve when they find their passion and do it with their integrity. And I say to everyone, the only thing stopping you is this. It really, truly is this. We all have the usual boundaries. Well, I've got to pay the bills and I've got to be here to take so-and-so to this dance recital and I've got to go and get the shopping and absolutely, life is tough. But I'm a single parent. I've been a single parent of 3 children for many, 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 many years. If someone had said to me 10 years ago, you're going to help create this worldwide initiative that is going to inspire and motivate thousands upon thousands of people to step into their power and create something new outside of the old systems, I'd have laughed my head off. I actually managed to do that with the help of hundreds of volunteers. Don't misconstrue me, but I managed to do that. I managed to do the same with food and farming. And I overcame that. That was my barrier. It wasn't anything else that was put in front of me. I could have feared the government. I could have feared, you know, other business leaders. I could have feared this, that, and the other. And I chose not to. And understanding that actually, if I'm prepared to put time, energy, and effort into this with integrity, I can create whatever the heck I want. And when you have that moment, when that light bulb goes on, it is just so empowering. And I want to encourage everyone to find that, look for that. We've all got it. We've all got it, whatever capacity. I'm not suggesting for a minute you create a PHA or a PFFA, but you can do something. Just unlock this. Don't let this hold you back, because what we're starting to realize now is just how incredibly powerful we are. And I'd love everyone to try and recognize that within themselves, because we've all got something we bring to the table, something we can offer.
So beautiful and so right. Yes, Paul, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was reminded of Buckminster Fuller's quote again, a very well-known at the time, I think 60s and maybe 70s, innovator and inventor. And he said something along the lines of, don't put your energy into a broken existing system. Basically, put your creative energy into building the new system so that when the old system falls apart, you can actually just switch over into the new system you've built. So that's perfectly illustrated by PHA and the PFFA and other groups as well. And we all find our own way to that opportunity. It gets presented in different ways. So yeah, as Katherine said, what have you always wanted to do but never felt you could, or never thought you could do it? Why don't you come out of the head that's constricting or covers you with what if this and what if that, and oh, it might go wrong, and all these thoughts, and come into your heart space and actually get into your gut space and start to go, what does my heart say about this? Give your heart a voice and ask, what is my highest good? What is for my highest good? Ask your tummy, another brain in our bodies. Hearts and tummies are both brains besides our head. And ask our tummies, what wisdom have I got inside me that I can call upon? What intuition and insights can I utilize? And then give more time and space to these voices rather than this flaming control freak that likes to scream and shout and give no space to anything else. Calm the mind and come into the heart and the gut and the other forms of intelligence and information sources you've got. And I think you're going to have a much richer experience. And we're certainly creating a journey and workshops in the future and things that would enable people to shift into this space to create from, and then to look at either their new business ideas. What have you always wanted to do but never felt the time is right? Well, maybe the time is now. And who is there around you that shares these passions? And maybe it's time to reach out to them and start having a chat over a cup of tea or a glass of wine or whatever you want to do, to start talking about the future and how you would like it to be, because ultimately we're the creators of our future.
Thank you so, so much. And before I give that like last summary, how can people reach you, or how can people reach PHA, People's Health Alliance, if they want to connect?
Okay, so both PHA and PFFA have their own websites. It's the-pha.org or the-pffa.org. You can go on there, contact forms if you want to contact us directly, but you'll also find a plethora of information, supporting materials in you creating your own hub, things that we've done, loads and loads and loads of information on all of it. So do get involved, do find your local hub. It's all on there. If you're a new country, you want to get involved, reach out, we will help you, whether that's PFFA or PHA. Just go and have a look at the websites and then come to us and we'll give you all the support we can.
Okay.
Yeah, on the 5D enterprise side, if you are interested and inspired or want to contribute to this, either from a coaching trainer, facilitator type angle, or from a business owner that wants to realign their business into a more 5D trajectory, or somebody with great ideas, a spiritual business leader, or somebody that's just got a real burning desire to create a new venture or a new opportunity for this new Earth Golden Age we're heading to, then they can email me. I'm going to be putting, or Katherine and I will be putting a series of webinars together, which will share some of these principles in more detail and start to hopefully turn some light bulbs in, sort of set some hearts on fire, and sort of create some stirrings of deep wisdom within each of the people involved. So the email for me is nextleveltransformations@protonmail.com, and the website for some of this broader work is nextleveltransformations.com. So those are the contacts for that.
I can't thank you enough. And one of the things that I want to leave here as I sat back and I've listened and asked the questions is that I want to leave you with this. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. Anything sought would never be handed over to you. Anything sought, you must reach for, you must work for, you must attain and achieve. And it doesn't have to look like the model of the square that's been laid out for you. That it is time now for us to, if the current framework is not serving you, create your own framework. Katherine Macbean is a perfect example of that framework with People's Health Alliance. Meeting the wonderful Clere and the next level transformation, working from the heart and knowing that that which he creates is inclusive of all. I want to leave you with the words of Walter Russell. And Walter Russell says this: man is omnipotent when he but knows his omnipotence. Until that day, he is still but man. He also says, inspired man is he to come whose thinking will be from within, in light, and it will be an ecstasy of thinking, which is produce enduring things. This work, which is created in ecstasy of inner thinking, can alone endure. Light is the universal language in which the creator concept is plainly written. Think about it.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of The Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. I want to thank our guests, Katherine Macbean and Paul Leclerc. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And if you like this episode, hit like, subscribe. And this has been another episode of The Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. Thank you all.